Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be a debt confessional. So the main reason why I got into cash budgeting is because one, I have no savings. Well, I do now, but I didn't when I started cash budgeting. And two, I had a lot of debt and I was drowning in debt. I couldn't seem to get ahead of my minimum payments. The interest rates were eating me alive. I was really hurting. So this is going to be my debt confessional. It's not as bad as it was a couple months ago, but it's still not a pretty picture. So we'll get into that. Before we start, I just want to give a shout out to the Budget Mom. That's where I got this worksheet. This is a free printable on her website. You don't have to pay any money, and I will put a link in the description so you can use this worksheet for yourself if you want. It has instructions at the top and bottom, and it just gives you a place to list the debt name, your starting balance, your interest rate, minimum payment, and then the debt priority, what order you want to pay it off. And then when you do pay it off, you can check mark right here. So this is a pretty cool printable, and that's what I used to fill out. I did already fill it out just because my handwriting is terrible. So I took extra time to write it out. So I'm just going to kind of reveal it as we go. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can actually see here. Okay. All right. So I broke this into sections. That's how much debt I have. I broke it into sections. And the first section we're going to do is my consumer debt. So things like credit cards and stuff. So that's the first thing we're going to do. So my first debt is my car loan. So my car loan, as you can see, I owe $29,098.37. I have a 2.6% interest rate, and my minimum payment is $442.64. I do regret buying this car. I think I would have been just as happy with a much cheaper car. This was definitely too much car for me. It was one of those things where I kind of fell victim to the salespeople, basically. And I got this really fancy car with like remote start and stuff. And I don't need all that, you guys. I'm a plain, simple person. I would have rather had a much lower payment, a much lower loan balance. So yeah, so I will never do that again, buy like a really nice car. But that's what I did. And it's kind of too late to take it back. So it is what it is. All right. My next debt is a 401k loan. So I did not, I don't know if you guys know this, but if you take money out of your 401k, like if you cash it out, you lose a ton of money, like in taxes. But you can take out a loan from the 401k, meaning that you promise to pay it back. And in that instance, it is not taxed, but you have to pay every penny of it back. So I borrowed $15,000 from my 401k, and we'll get into the why here in a few minutes. I have a 6.5% interest rate, but that interest rate is paid back to me. It goes back into my retirement account. It doesn't go to the bank. And then the minimum payment is $293. So I'll explain a little bit more about this as we go along. My next debt is a personal loan. I took this loan out from my parents. I know, shame on me. Shortly after we bought our house, just because we really weren't prepared enough to buy a house as I thought we were. And we got hit with maintenance costs back to back to back. We needed furniture, we needed appliances. I had a small credit card that my parents were like, oh, just let us pay it off and you can pay us back. So they gave me a loan, which is why it's 0% interest because it's from family, but I do have to pay this money back. It is paused right now though, just because my parents know I'm trying to get control of my finances, really get ahead. So they're giving me some time to like throw my money at my other debt, to get a little bit ahead before I start paying them again. So I'm not paying them anything right now, but I do want to pay all of this off. My next debt is a Capital One credit card. This is where I got myself in trouble. This card clearly has a really high balance, $9,522.58 at 22.9% interest, you guys. That is an insane amount of interest. And the payment was $285 a month, and almost every penny of that went to interest. Hardly any of it went toward paying the balance down. So I felt like this number was just never moving. So what I did was I got the 401k loan. So that's what this loan is from. This 401k loan is a loan that I took out to pay off my credit cards. So I have paid off this credit card. It is paid off. That is the worst check mark in the history of the world. Make it pretty. There we go. I've paid that loan off. And so I no longer have this minimum payment. That's why I have the $293 instead. And I no longer have this balance. So that is paid off. My next debt is another credit card. It is a Wells Fargo credit card. Again, I let my spending get out of control for too many years, and I racked up a lot of debt. So the balance on this card was $4,182.76. It was actually a balance rollover card, so I was paying 0% interest on it for a while, but the 0% interest was getting ready to run out, and it was going to go up to 23.24% interest, which was even higher than my Capital One card. The payment was only $43 at the moment, only because the interest was still 0%, but that was, of course, going to go up as soon as the interest went up. And so this is another card that I used that 401k loan to pay off. So this card is paid off. So it's not like this debt has went away. It's just moved because now I have to pay off that 401k loan instead of these credit cards. But I'm hoping with this lower interest rate that I can actually make some headway and pay it off. My next debt is a bank credit card. So this was a credit card from my bank. It had a balance of $1,547.25. And the interest rate was 11.24%. So it was a little bit lower because it's a bank card, but it's still, you know, it still stinks. And the payment was only $14.96, but I went ahead and I paid that off with the 401k loan. So that is paid off. And then my last consumer debt loan or card or whatever is a Best Buy card. The balance is $540.99. It has a 0% interest rate until September of 2023, but the payment is still a little high. It's $45, and that's because I did the 12 months same as cash financing, so this has to be paid off within 12 months, but I plan to pay it off much sooner than that, if all goes well. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so that is it for my consumer debt. So what's the total? So not including these three that are paid off, if you include the car, the 401k loan, the personal loan, and the Best Buy card, the total amount of consumer debt that I have is $52,393.36, which just boggles my mind. Like, I find that an insane amount of debt. I never thought I would ever get in this much debt, you guys, but I did. Like, it can happen to anybody. All it takes is, you know, being busy and not paying attention to what you're spending. You know, credit cards, they just hook you in. They'll just keep raising your limit. Like, if you start getting to where you're close to maxing out, they just raise your limit because they don't care. As long as you're paying that minimum payment on time every month, they're making money off of you through the interest. So, you know, it tricks you into thinking that you have a lot more money to spend than you do. And it's just so easy. It adds up so fast. So that's not all the debt I have, though. That's just like the bad debt, the consumer debt. But all debt just kind of stinks. So I do have some more. So like I said, I broke this into sections. So the next debt I have is my mortgage. So my mortgage is $128,286.91 at 2.75% interest. I don't know what my minimum payment is, but the payment I do make is $810 a month. And that includes my homeowner's insurance, my escrow, like all of that stuff is included. And then I put a little bit extra, I think it's like $20 extra towards principal. So my minimum payment's technically like in the high 700s, but I pay $810 a month. The reason I included this in my debt picture, I realize some people don't, is because even though like David Ramsey considers this like good debt or whatever, like to me it's still debt because it still has an interest rate and its balance still, you know, you're still fighting like a current upriver to pay that off because you have this interest rate. Even though I'm very fortunate, my interest rate is pretty low, and that is because I refinanced when the rates were really low. And so yeah, I lucked out there. And then my very last bit of debt, we go down to this next section, is student loans. So my student loans, they're not actually consolidated, but for the purposes of this worksheet, I consolidated them. I owe a total of $50,387.58. And the interest rates on these loans vary. Some of them are 0%, some of them are 6.3%. And I couldn't tell you which are which because ever since the student loans have been paused, I can no longer see what the interest rates are because the interest is frozen right now. So they're all technically 0% right now. But when that pausing ends, which I think now is at the end of the year, December 31st, then all that interest is going to come back into play. And of course, it's capitalizing interest. It works differently, and it stinks, guys. It adds up so fast. But of course, we all heard lately that we got student loan forgiveness. So we got $20,000 because I did get Pell Grants. So I've got $20,000 of forgiveness that is coming out of that balance. So technically I owe $30,387.58, which is still a lot, but at least it's a little bit less. And that brings my total debt picture, all of it together, is $211,067.85, which I think is a pretty large amount for one person. Like that's a lot of debt. It does include a house and a car in there, and a college education, I guess, but it's a lot of debt, you guys. So the order that I plan to pay these things off, I plan to pay the Best Buy card off first, just because it's a little debt and I just want to get it out of the way. I plan to pay the 401k off next because the longer that money is out of my 401k, the more like growth potential I'm missing out on, and I have to retire someday, you know, assuming I live that long. So I want to get that paid back. Loan priority 3 for me is paying back my parents. I want to pay that back as soon as possible. And then loan priority 4 for me is the car loan. I'd like to get the car paid off. And one of the reasons I broke this into sections is because this section in particular, so these are all paid off. I have a 5-year goal. So I want everything in this section paid off in 5 years. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to pay for my kids' college. I only have one kid, thank God, but I really want to help her pay for college. I don't want her to have student loans like I did. So I'm hoping I can get all of this paid off in 5 years. And then I can take the like $800 a month that I'm throwing toward all of this debt and put it in a high yield savings account and build it as fast as possible and help her pay for college. So that's my goal. I really want to be able to do that. So loan priority number 5 is the mortgage. I want to pay that off like before I retire or something. Actually, I'm not even sure if I'll keep my house for forever. Once my kid is grown and moves out and stuff, I think I might sell my house just because honestly, this house is too big for one person, but you never know what the future holds. I might meet another romantic partner. I might decide to expand my family again. Like, I don't know. So might keep the house. I don't know. But so that's like the last priority. And then I'm going to write an F here. Why am I doing that? Because I don't actually plan on paying off my loans. I know that sounds terrible, but I am a nurse and I work for a nonprofit, and I fully plan on taking advantage of the public service loan forgiveness. I know it's hard to get approved, but I've done the research, and the reason it's hard to get approved is because most people who apply either don't fill out the paperwork correctly, or they technically haven't qualified because they haven't paid enough months, or their employer doesn't qualify. I have verified that my employer qualifies. I'm tracking very carefully the number of months that I've made payments. Like I'm ticking all the boxes. So I fully intend to, within 10 years, actually less than that because I've already started, to have this paid off, like forgiven. So I'm going to pay off what I can, but paying all of it off is probably not going to happen for me. And we'll see. I mean, if I can't get it forgiven and I do have to pay it off, then it will be my last priority. It will come after the mortgage. Like, it'll be the last thing I ever pay off. And that's just because, you know, it's just there. It's not paying off anything like a house. So, that is my overall debt picture. And thanks for watching, you guys. Click like and subscribe, and have a good day. Bye.